Hello, everyone. Very quickly, we're going to be doing a very quick workshop. If you are with your laptops, you're welcome to indulge. If you are not, I have put together a very quick document for you to deploy with when you go back home. So how many, I like to get a feel of the room to understand who we're working with today. So do we have software engineers in the house? It doesn't matter whether it's only HTML you've written, I promise you, I may be like that, who knows? Do we have software engineers in the house? Everything, one line of code. Okay, let's go this way. Do we have front-end engineers in the house? Amazing. Do we have back-end engineers in the house as well? How about cloud guys? Any cloud? By the way, who just heard? Cloudflare is down. Okay. And some people are sweating right now. But yeah, cool stuff. Anyways, today's session is going to be very valuable to everyone. Engineer, cloud person. You heard my bio. I work as a technical writer, although I do a bit of engineering day to day, but it's going to be beneficial to everyone. You're seeing people here that they're building chatbots here and there. If you were here in the morning at Brandon's session where you were using Firebase, did anybody attend the Firebase studio session in the morning? Great. You can see that you're already doing amazing things with AI. Let's go into business. What is Cloud Run? So you see how oftentimes we used to have the issues of, is working in my device, is not working in your device. How many of us can remember? I think Sadiq also mentioned that it's working in my device, it's not working in your device. Oftentimes, Cloud Run takes away the complexities of that so that you can focus on your code. So the deployment, where you want to deploy it, how you want to deploy it, you want to grab a URL for your API. Cloud Run is going to take care of all of that, and your job is just to focus on getting that code to work. That way, the days of cPanel, how many of us were writing code in days of cPanel? And, okay, just a few hands. Oh, I apologize, it's a student event. Great. So all of the complexities that we had to deal with at that time has been very simplified, and now you can push your code to services like Cloud Run and actually get a URL for your customers to use. It could be your APIs, it could be your web services, whatever it is. So I'm just going to go straight into the workshop today so you get to have a feel of how things work. But today you're going to learn how to use Python to host Cloud Run to host Python containers. We're going to be building a simple chatbot. It's going to have a basic front end with HTMX, just so that we don't do a lot of JavaScript today, and FastAPI. Then we're going to learn a bit more about the IAM-based authorization for Cloud Run. Great. How's it going to work? So this chatbot, you're going to see the visual interface very soon, but this chatbot, sends you a message. You have the browser. You know how chatbot works. You send your request to the Gemini API. What are we basically doing today? It's very simple. We're just trying to create a simple chatbot with Gemini where any request that is entered into what we're doing will be processed to Gemini. And then you may ask me, how can I use this? Why is it even important to me? So think about it. I really wish ChatGPT and Gemini and the rest really was prominent in my final year days, because it was just ChatGPT coming out at the time. I think that I might have built my entire final year project with GPT. Anyways, so yeah, but think about it. How is it useful to me? You're trying to make a chatbot out of something. You're trying to build a service for whatever localized problem that you have found. You don't want to have the traditional LLM interface. You want to have your own. You want to have customizable features. For some people, it could be that they have a documentation and they want to have a glossary or somewhere where people can find information. So you want to have an AI service under the hood, like Gemini, so that whenever questions are asked, you can easily just send the question to Gemini. Gemini returns the answer, and then you throw it back to your users. That way you don't have to deal with finding every answer or figuring out how to put a JSON file of every answer for each user. So you're going to send the message from the browser's HTML. The request is going to go to FastAPI, which we will deploy on Cloud Run. Now, Cloud Run automatically provides service account credentials, which is where the IAM stuff comes in. So quick one. What is IAM? Anybody? What is IAM? You have to be confident. You just echo it out. I'm good. Yes, sir. Identity and access management. Great. And let's know that we're all following in the room. So this is where IAM comes in. Then the FastAPI is going to use Google Generative AI Client to secure the Gemini API. We'll be using Vertex AI for this as well. And then you're going to get the results back. So enough code. Let's go into how it works. I'm going to need you to scan the code lab. If you cannot scan, I've provided the URL down below for you as well. Okay, I'm moving on. So just a very basic, again, the concept of today is not to show you like 1,000,001 things. Each time we do this to keep it so focused that at the end of the day, you go home and you're able to try something. Like you're more enthusiastic to build something. You could just build, maybe you want to build a food answering service or whatever it is. Build your UI, plug it to Gemini. Gemini returns all the answers for you, and you're good. So this is a sample of what you're going to build. I was asking it a few questions, and I don't even get what it was saying, but, you know. Awesome. So if you've gotten to the code lab, you're going to see something like this. So the first step we are going to do, I've written a couple of steps down in the slide. So we're going to go over that first, and then we will now proceed to continue with the code lab. So the first thing that we have to do is go to console.cloud.google.com, which is where you run all your cloud-related services in Google. First off, we have to do this work in a project. To create a new project, you go to the project selector top right or top left. What should we name this project? I like to ask, my workshop attendees this. What should we name this project? Please don't say DevFest. I get that a lot. You still said DevFest. Chatbot. Who is he happy? Okay, but yeah. Chat what? What? What does that mean? LF. LM. Okay, instead of LLM, chat LM. Wow, very funny, sense of humor. Anyways, great. Create a new project. Trying to be very mindful of time. Once the project has been created, we are going to make sure that we are working in that select project. So you have to select the project. So yeah, how do I know that I'm in Chat LM? This guy, right? Now, one very important thing that we're going to be using here in this workshop today is Vertex AI API. So you're just going to enable it from the marketplace. What is the importance of the Vertex AI API? We need this to be able to, it's like we're using it to train our models. We need this to be able to get feedback from Gemini. It helps us to connect whatever that we're building to Gemini. So you want to make sure, first of all, that you enabled it in your project, right? And then we are nearly good to go. Next up is we're going to go to Cloud Shell. Now, this is where we're going to be doing all of the dirty work, writing the front end, writing the back end, building our entire chatbots with just a few commands. So you should be at this place now. Once you have enabled Vertex AI API and you have created your project, now you are ready to start doing all that is required of you in the code lab. First off, you are going to set some environment variables that will be used across this project. I did already make a copy out of it, so I just need to update my project ID. Very important. We get this question a lot. How do I get my project ID? Because it's not glaring at your face. So from the project selector, you can grab the project ID, add it to your export. I'm keeping my region as US Central 1 because I'm in Nigerian and it's cheap. But here's something to know about location. Oftentimes, so let's do it this way. If my users were in India and I, the developer, I was in Nigeria, where am I supposed to host my product or my website? What location am I supposed to choose? What region am I supposed to choose? I'm sorry? Yeah, India, Asia, thank you. Great. Okay. We do know what we're doing here then. So we're going to run all of these commands. First of all, I also have to make sure that in the Google Cloud Shell, I'm already there as well. So we're going to have to run all of those again. So we're using those environment variables so that across the project, we will not need to be setting our project ID, service name, service account that we'll be using to deploy this app. Next up, create a service account that will be used for this entire chatbot so that Google can recognize who exactly is making this request from the Cloud Shell. While that's still loading, up next will be, we have a service account which is acting as the user for this project. But we need that user to have access to the API that we're going to use, the Vertex AI user rule. We have already downloaded Vertex AI inside this project, and then we need the user to be able to have the right permissions to access it. Let's see if the other guy is done. Okay, yeah, he's done. It's about time I start fasting and praying for this internet, but here's what we're going to do. So because of time and the internet, I'm going to walk us through the code lab, right, to guide us to be able to do it and replicate it back at home. So I'll just need you to walk with me. All right. So for the next few minutes, I'm just going to verbally walk through the code lab so we can be able to understand how this works and replicate it when we get back. So after creating the service account, the next thing we're going to do is give the service account a Vertex AI user role so that it can be able to communicate with Vertex AI. The next step is, this is where we get to build the whole app. So if you follow this code lab, I'm sure that everybody got the code lab so they'll be able to replicate. But if you follow this code lab closely, you would see that we are working with two distinct files. For the front end, we have a set of steps, and then for the back end, we're using FastAPI for Python. And now, the first set of steps will instruct you to build the code lab, create a new file for the HTML. This first one is the response. When you're sending a request, what response comes out. Then the second one is for the message container, how you as a user will define your message, where you expect your users to impute the message. Then up next, you'll be instructed to create the index.html file, a bunch of nice UI, I must say. You have already seen what we have showed at the beginning of the presentation to see what the expected UI will be. When you have completed those 3 steps, you would have all of your front-end work ready. And now you can move to building the service itself, the service that is going to make a request to Gemini so that whatever the users impute in your UI, Gemini takes it up, your API takes it up, and then runs it and takes that question back to Gemini. So if you notice closely, this entire main file, main.py, is doing a bit of request. It's fetching your project ID, which you have set earlier on, the region that you have set, the Gemini model that you have already set. For context, these are the things that you have already set in step 2, right? Now, after that, it's going to, quick thing, there's one thing I would like to reemphasize that I like to talk about every time we're having an AI-related session. How many of us have heard about, oh, prompt engineering. You need to know prompt engineering and all of that stuff. Prompt better, blah, blah, blah. Good. So I have a friend that always says that prompt engineering is becoming the new soft skills. You know what soft skills are, right? What are soft skills? Can I get echoes? No, like you can just mention the soft skills. Is a soft skill. Communication, great. You were close. Collaboration, teamwork. So the same way companies are now going to be insistent on, oh, how well are you collaborative? How well are you XYZ? How well do you communicate? Oftentimes, you are now going to be working in AI-enabled systems, and it's very important to understand how to prompt. So you always have to, whatever you're building, as long as it's AI-based, you always have to take cognizance of writing the best prompts because I like to think of AI as garbage in, garbage out. It is what you prompt in that you will get out. So a lot of us use ChatGPT and Gemini as though they're meant to read our minds. Oh no, they're not. You have to be explicit. It's the expert when he has enough domain knowledge. So it's very important to define your prompt. So for you, you can switch this up a bit and ask Gemini to do something else for your chatbot. Think about what you're trying to build in this scenario, and then you can change the system prompt. When you're done with that, you can use a simple Docker file to save this entire application on Cloud Run. Again, same set of steps, and then you'll be asked to create this simple PyProject file. These simple set of files have already coupled together to become your FastAPI. So the next thing we want to do is want to be able to deploy everything that we have done to Cloud Run so that people can easily have a URL to access it. I don't need to start uploading it somewhere, posting it on a cPanel, or thinking of how much I have to containerize it to fit a particular scenario. Why is it very important when we're talking about, oh, we're deploying with Cloud Run, is that when the need for scaling arises, you're not going to be faced with so many issues, engineering-wise. There are a couple of engineering steps that you can take, of course, into making sure that all of your code and your processes are optimized. But when it comes to scaling on the infrastructure end, Cloud Run is a very good service that you can use so that it's easy for you to scale your application as it grows. So, of course, it's a very basic app, so you can use a couple of there is a command on the fourth step for you to deploy with. And then once you have deployed it, it's going to take cognizance of the service account. Who is making this request? Who is deploying it to Cloud Run? If you run into issues around permissions, you should check your service account. It's going to take cognizance again of what is the project that we're working with, and then where has this project been deployed. Finally, what Gemini model are you using? Again, you must have said this in step 2. Do you want to use Gemini 2.5? Do you want to use Gemini 2.5 Pro? What exactly do you want to use? And then when all of this is done, you're going to get a URL that looks like, do I still have it? I quickly decommissioned one for this project. Little did I know that the internet had other plans. Oh, it is, but I don't think the API will be functional anymore. So let's try. So at the end of all that you have done, you should be seeing something like this. Pro tip, you can customize your UI the way you want. I mean, this is a very simple and basic UI that is asking Gemini for questions. So you can customize your UI the way you want, as much as you want. You can add tooltips, instructions for your users, and all of that. So maybe we can just ask, why is the sky blue? Because I don't know. Okay, it's working, great. So it says what? The sky is blue because of a phenomenon. Again, this answer is being fetched from Gemini. Now, I want you to notice something. Typically, if you ask Gemini about a question, how many of you know that Gemini is bound to over-explain or explain in details? You've encountered that, right? Now, You would wonder why that is not the case here. And this is where I bring us back to the one important concept that I need you to take home, even if you're not able to pick up one thing today, is that you need to be very explicit with your prompts when you're working on AI projects. You cannot assume that it fully understands what you're thinking or the direction that you're thinking. And now let's go over the prompt that we built again for this API or for this AI chatbot. You're a chatbot that helps pass the time with small talk. Emphasis on small talk. That is, you're a polite conversation, you allow people pass time. It's a very basic thing. Keep your answers short. It was a very clear instruction to Gemini to keep your answers short. And that's why no matter what we ask here, except we probably give it a different instruction, it's almost going to always give us a short answer. What can I do for fun in DevFest Lagos? Okay, it's over. DevFest Lagos sounds like, but again, very short. But you would agree with me that this is not who Gemini is in real life, right? So this is where most of the control that you have is really in the natural language that you are building for that particular AI project. So in as much as it's great, anybody can pick this code lab and literally do what they want. But to get the most optimal results, all of the API steps are there, all of the front-end steps are there. But to get the actual optimal result that you want, it's very important to be as explicit as possible when you are defining your system prompt. So, with these few points of mine, but I do hope that you get to try this out, build something, customize it. I think that we do have other sessions that are coming up that will introduce you to Cloud Run, but I would encourage you to build something, and we're more than happy to see how much of Cloud Run and GCP that you explore. Again, for those who did not get this slide, you can catch the code lab again at this link. Before we go, if you were not able to catch the code lab, thank you.